we in Soweto now?
We are in Soweto. Soweto is where the Venda tribal group and the Tsonga tribal group are living. As we drive along, still Soweto is famously known for one of the biggest cemeteries established in the very area, same area in 1970s, which is known as the Avalon Cemetery, where we also have one of the historical figures of our time, which is the likes of Victor Peterson. But now we are taking a right turn in a new development area, normally known for as Dlamini. Dlamini is the biggest name in South Africa, which is a royal name in Swaziland. So most of the people who are living in such an area are mostly the public servants,
Okay.
teachers, policemen, nurses, and some of them they've retired. They also have businesses which are known as a shebeen, before known as an illegal place that sells beer. It's an Irish name
Okay.
because because when beer was introduced in South Africa in 1895, it was only meant for white people. Black people were not supposed to drink beer. They were
Oh.
supposed to drink soccer beer. So that was a challenge where our grandmothers managed to see that the government is producing the soccer beer and they end up digging up sand on their head and bring on selling beer illegally. And they were called shipping queens.
Okay.
And also they own businesses like um, Espaza shop. Espaza is a mini supermarket. Much as you see people are more owning their small businesses in the township, which are non-tax businesses. They are not paying tax. And mostly it's a challenge when the police come and raid the area.
Oh.
So in this population, we have a 32.7% of unemployment rate.
32.7% of unemployment, you said?
Yes, from 4.5 million people.
4.5.
So yeah, so as we going back, I will get back to that. As we driving now in the Krisani road, much as you see cars on their left-hand side, these are parked cars for the people who are using a bus transportation station will be on your right-hand side that takes people to Johannesburg or their working area, which is the new bus system that was introduced in 2008, but operational in 2009.
Okay.
That is called the Rea bus. On the left-hand side, it's our park, Togoza Park.
Mm-hmm.
This was given Togoza Park. Mostly Togoza is a word that is used by our traditional healers so that you are agreeing to what they believe in. So people believe that whatever the church was operational, which is the church that we're going to drive in, which is known as the Regina Mundi Church. Regina Mundi is a Latin language for Queen of the World. It's a Catholic church that was built in 1960 with the donation of the community of Moroka. And Jojo, when he's pointing on the other side, is talking about the road, the famous road that is known as Klipsville Road, but
Okay.
known as Killer Road, because that road played a very horrific part during 1992, 1993 towards the election, when black on black community were were turned against each other, which is known as the Inkatha Freedom Party and the African National Congress.
Okay.
So people were killed. But now we are in the church site. This church, it was built and completed in 1962.
Mm-hmm.
It got the capacity of 2,000 people sitting down. This church, we call it the Parliament of Soweto. When apartheid took power towards our education, establishing that Afrikaans it will be medium of instruction in our education, all subjects will be taught in Afrikaans because they didn't want English. They wanted to build their own international language, which is known as Afrikaans, Afrikaans is a mixture of Dutch, German, and Khoisan language, which is difficult. I grew up with the language because we are part and parcel of the Afrikaans people. Africa apartheid system situation. So the church became a hiding area because there were about 6,000 students inside the church, addressed by the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu and one of the famous doctors who worked with most of the people of the United States. His name is Dr. Ntato Motlana. And as the commander-chief of the police came inside the church, he was asking, where are the student leaders? Not knowing that underneath the altar of the church, there can be about 200 people hiding underneath the altar, sitting down.
Wow.
So they were hiding there, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu said it in Zulu language that they are mad, these policemen are mad. And students started laughing. The commander-chief of the police started getting angry because we believe that there will never be a shooting inside the Holy House. And they started shooting randomly.
Wow.
When you go outside, there were police with guns, live ammunition, rubber bullets, tear gas. And the youngest student to be shot was 11 years of age. It was between the 17th of June towards the 18th of June. The area that you are in is called the Central Western Jabavu, where mostly is known for its own famous houses, which we know them as elephant houses. They are concrete roof houses, which were built during the period of the Second World War that will cater for the Second World War soldiers to come back home. Unfortunately, people decided to go to their own area of choice. So it became a household. These are the houses which are known as two-room houses. You can't break the house, you can't do anything. But there's a very unique donation of many companies of study and education about drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and orphanage homes. Because there's Utandwen Orphanage Home, including Sanka for drug abuse, because I saw something that of importance that you asked about how much of areas with the high rate of drugs in Soweto. Diepkloof is one of the places because I live here.
Okay.
Young children's future has been taken away from them. I say not because of the load shedding, I say there's a new apartheid system.
Now wait just a minute.
There's a new apartheid system era, which is known as drug era, where young children's educational opportunities are taken away from them. And it will be followed by Orlando East and Orlando West, and also including Meadowlands and Dobsonville. There's a lot of areas, but other communities in other areas, they are more fighting for their own livelihood by stopping the drug laws, because here on our side, we are afraid to fight back, to fight the drug laws because of the corruption system of our government. Because you report someone, but you end up being in danger because in a day or the same day he'll be released because he's working hand in hand with some corrupt policemen. Because we're not gonna take a blame only to the Black community people and say they are corrupt, but also our safety and security police are also part and parcel of corruption. So community has come together. We have the community policing forum where we fight the crime ourselves.
Okay.
There are much programs because people are getting angry. Criminals are being let free. So I can say we still use mob justice,
Okay.
and we still do the kangaroo courts. And people, when they get tired, I've experienced and seen this, that they are still using the old system as we used to do when we used to punish the informers, the neck lacing issue, where they put the tire and torture people. So those type of things, because of this corruption of our police, it makes people angry. But the crime issue and drug is very, very high.
Okay.
And but the safety is being taken hand in hand by our community itself. So we are out of central western Jabavu. We are now in a place that is called Umfolo. Umfolo has been known of in its own informal settlements, but directly doesn't have much of a rich history, but it's been known of the Asha tennis court that is supported by the Williams family for training the South African kids with tennis sports around Johannesburg.
You mean
Because
Serena and Venus Williams? That Williams?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, the Williams family.
Oh
Yes.
wow.
Yes, because so much of us, we've been introduced into many things. We knew soccer and netball as one of the biggest sports. We never knew dancing, tennis, cricket, rugby, or baseball, or we call it softball in South Africa. Those were most of the sports that an African child can play, because we only been limited some of things in our country, including education system.
Right.
When you want to become a better person, you have to become a teacher, a policeman, a nurse, or a priest, or a lawyer. Now, today's children, they got an opportunity to become whoever they want around the world.
Right.
So we are in the open space of Soweto, Mfolo. Heading ahead is still mostly those type of areas. But as we take a turn, we'll be driving for a few minutes in Mfolo. This is Mfolo. It used to be famously known of its own informal settlement, but the informal settlement is being shut down, which was known as Umshenguvili, the area of comfort, in a way where people used to be sheltered in a safe area. But because of the reconstruction and development program houses were built, it has to be put down.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, when you jump the street, you are no longer where you were. Yeah, that's the careful thing about Soweto. You can talk to somebody in front of you, but it will be on the other area. We are facing Dube. Dube, it's one of the names that weighs in South Africa, because this name is a name of a zebra in Zulu language. When you say Dube, you are talking about the zebra in Zulu language.
Dube. Okay.
So in English. So Dube is where you find the first also shebeen that was built, which is known as Wandi's restaurant.
You said the first what?
Shebeen, where Europeans and Americans used to visit when they came into Soweto.
Okay.
When they visited Soweto. So Wandi's restaurant is one of the biggest known restaurant in the European countries and also in the United States. But because of some other restaurants have grown, Wandi's has taken a fall because of is deeper into Soweto, but most of the people build that restaurant around the Vilakazi Street. So we are still in Dube. And Dube is also famously known for the first franchise supermarket that was brought in by also the man that I said he built a shopping mall in Soweto known as Richard Maponya. His first franchise shop in Soweto was known as Maponya ShopRite. You have seen, yes. So this ShopRite started to become our own shopping center where we felt like we are allowed to go and buy. The reason I'm saying this because experiencing the history, how our parents were treated in 1963, 1966. 1963 it was when the Spar supermarket was built. But if you are a black person, you have to have a permit letter from your masters that you were sent to go and buy food there. If you are not, you'll be arrested and sentenced to 10 months imprisonment.
Wow, 10 months?
Yes, in a wine farm or a potato farm. Some were paid with the wine, some of them were paid with the potato. If they find you drunk with the wine, they say you stole it, then you're gonna serve another more years. So this was a challenge of brutality, of mental brainwash to destroy us mentally. But our parents stick together, like Nelson Mandela stayed for 27 years in prison and stick to become a prisoner to a president, to show them that no matter how much you can do, the heart stays with the children of South Africa. So the very same area, it's more like an industrial, but we'll be heading towards the same shop right in front of us. Most of the small businesses, banks, we got small banks, food court areas.
And that's the shop right there. That's the shop.
This is a shop right. Okay. That's the shop right that I'm talking about. So it was brought in by Maponya himself to make sure that the people of Soweto, they can also go and buy their own food before some of the malls were built. So Dube is where we're gonna take a left turn at the traffic light, where we're gonna come and meet up with the hostel dweller. Another second hostel dweller, the Dube hostel dweller. This hostel dweller, it's been one of the most famous one during the 1993. It also played a part, but it's one known today for one of its own biggest traditional church, which is a Zulu cultural church, which is known as Shembe. Remembering the same structural houses that we passed in Duduklu, you remember in the hostel dweller. The same structure that you see that is been vandalized are the same houses that was supposed to be prepaid rental areas. They were vandalized by the society of the hostel because they don't want to pay any amount of rent. And they stole everything that you can think of, the bath rooms, the bathtubs, the basins, the geysers, anything that taps and everything. This is not because it was not finished. It's because it was vandalized because they don't want prepaid electricity and prepaid.
These structures here, these structures we're looking at now, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they were vandalized. Yes, they were vandalized due to the reason that people, they don't want to stay there. So this project cost about 20 million rands of damage.
Wow.
So the government is still holding up until they come with a decision of reconstructing the area, but they are afraid that it will go to waste again because there's no much respect. So that's how this, as much as you can see, it's not because they are finished. This is being demolished, destroyed.
Thought maybe they didn't finish it, but it's been
No,
damaged. Okay.
no, it was destroyed.
Wow.
So you can imagine. And I like to go back because you asked the question about Dr. Koboka.
Yes.
Dr. Koboka has been one of the most generous, I don't call him famous, I call him the popular doctor of our society that mostly was loved by our elderly citizens, our mothers, grandmothers, because he was giving them a very good rate for getting medication. Unfortunately, we were robbed by the criminals by taking his life because his death was a direct hit because they didn't steal anything. They didn't take the car, they didn't take his cell phone, they didn't take anything. They just get inside the surgery, which is nearby where I stay in Soweto, and they just shot him to death. So you can imagine it was a direct hit. He was a very generous man that helped our society.
Wow.
So just to make it clear, people to know when they see the Koboka name, he was very generous, very, very kind man. Even he gave our grandmothers a credit when they didn't have money.
Wow. An asset, a great asset to the community.
Yeah, he was a very greatest asset to our community because even as when we feel like going to the private doctor, we went to him because he was doing a very good job.